Hello and welcome to episode 1 of A Voice Shared. This is a new series about stories of overcoming bullying. And my first guest is the very lovely Hannah, and she's your Ms. Wiltshire Galaxy. Hello, Hannah, how are you?
I'm good. Although I know we're both recovering from whatever illness is running around rampant in the UK.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad we've actually done this. But yes, January was full of sniffles and lots of runny noses and things like that. But we're here now, so it's very, very good. And we're going to talk about a very, very important subject. Now, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and discuss this because it is a very sensitive subject. So I do appreciate your time with this. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about your experience, your personal experience with bullying yourself. And it is bullying in the workplace as well as past bullying. So what was your personal experience with bullying?
Yeah, so I don't think I really experienced bullying until secondary school. You get the whole like things in primary, but I loved my time. Obviously for myself as well. There was a lot of stuff going on at home. Like we lived in poverty as well, so a lot of things where we could be bullied for because some children are brutal when it comes to appearances. But it wasn't until secondary school, when a lot of other stuff was happening in my life. And I literally got bullied by my whole tutor group. Like, I literally had no one in my tutor group because when I moved, you always put down like two friends you want to move into secondary school with. And I didn't have that at all. All of mine got into other sets. So I had no one from my old school at all in my class. And I think it just came with like little jibs and jibes. I got made fun of for being posh, but also for being poor at the same time, which the correlation between the two was crazy. But it wasn't until it got physical where someone pulled out my stool from under me in a science class, and those stools are very high. I ended up falling and bruising my tailbone. That I got pulled out of school because I had talking to the head and was like, "This is happening. I have no friends in there. Like there are things happening at home." It was just so much name calling and so much stuff that eventually there was a meeting 2 weeks later. And the awkward part where I had to go into my tutor group and they all had to apologize as a collective. I wouldn't say it kind of stopped. It just I wasn't on the radar anymore because I moved tutor groups and moved like a lot of classes as well. So yeah, that was like my first experience of bullying, which the school wasn't as proactive as it should have been. But in the end, I did get to move classes. I did get to move with some people who I'd made friends with other tutor groups because this went on for a year and a half. So by halfway through year 8. But yeah, so that's my school experience. So I always had that. With my life as well, I've been a victim of like SCA, DV, and so my confidence wasn't the best. So when I went into a workplace, I've worked a number of jobs. I very much worked, in childcare. I've worked in the restaurant industry, in the nightclub industry, rap, yeah, all sorts of things. But this incident I wanted to talk about was to do with pageants, actually, because I started work for a nightclub, and they were so fixated on, they were women, and they were so fixated that I did pageants that they would leave hate comments on my videos. They would share my videos around with the staff. They also, as well, for those who may have been bullied in the workplace, they kind of wanted me to quit, but they wouldn't fire me. So they started taking away my hours, and they demoted me because I couldn't drive, even though I stated that when I applied for the job. And they kind of just would not pay on time as well. It was not a very fun experience for that. And I think I was probably the only one who was experiencing the most of it because these two women didn't like me, but I'm not sure why when they headhunted me for their company. So but yeah, so that was my experience. Also, I left that job after 4 or 5 months. But yeah, the comments were still there. There was still a lot of questions like, how can you compete in pageants? And when you're your size, or talking about my voice and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, quite a few. There've been other instances, but those are like the two biggest, I guess, impact that's happened in my life with bullying.
It's really, really difficult to be put in that situation, especially as an adult. You know, you think adults would know better. You know, we do know it happens quite a lot in children, but as adults, it's you know, a bit of a different thing, isn't it? But how did you deal with it at the time? How did you cope with it all?
So it was very hard because for me, you know, especially with stuff that was happening at home, it wasn't a safe environment at all for me to be in, especially emotionally. So it was really hard to process what was going on and also why I was being targeted. You know, these women were in their 40s, 50s, targeting a 20-year-old woman just because of the extra like hobbies that she does on the side, you know. And if I was, and it's stuff like when I'm fundraising for charity, making fun of that, like, why would you make fun of that? So it was hard to process for me. Obviously there's no HR department because it was a very small business, so it was just more of how can I get out of this situation. I was training to be a personal trainer at the time, so that took a lot of my focus, and in the end I was able to switch jobs because I was just actively looking to get out of that situation. I was lucky where I wasn't having to pay too many major bills, so I was able to, when they were withholding money, that it wasn't too much of an impact on my other aspects of life. But yeah, you know, handing in my notice was one of the greatest feelings I've had, just to note down the problems and to have it in writing to say that this is the reason why I'm leaving because of this and this and this. You know, to have it in words, to have it as kind of like a proof that it happened. Because when it's happening to yourself in a room one to one, it's very hard to prove. But you know, you can see the comments on the socials, and you can see like the group messages from those who have shown me. So it's just like, yeah, dealing with it on your own can be hard. So for me, it was just talking to some of the other members if they'd gone through it, and having someone to confide in, but also being wary because they could be part of it. So
Yeah. So, I mean, what was the outcome in the end? You know, I mean, obviously you did take, you know, your own actions by looking for another job and that, but it must have been awful to actually feel like you had to do that. It's not really the best sort of outcome. It was obviously better for you because you don't want to be working with people like that. But was there any other outcome? Anybody else step in or?
no, not particularly. I think a lot of people asked why I was leaving, but you know, I think it was karma because their business tanked a couple of months later. So, you know, it's like, you know, karma has a funny way of working it out. But it's also for me because I was in such a position, I was in a manager position at one point. So I could literally warn other people to not undergo the same treatment that I went to. But also, and then, yeah, blocking them on socials, not having to have them because I wasn't employed by them. And just kind of calling it out without knowing that there's not going to be any repercussions for myself by losing my job because I already quit. You know, like, why are you guys bullying? Like, what's the end of this? What's the point?
This is it. Yeah, it's just awful to think that this is such a large thing that happens quite regularly. It is the figures, you know, are quite high at the moment for bullying in the workplace in the UK and worldwide, and it is quite shocking, you know. So, what advice or words could you give, you know, of comfort you could give to other people that have been through or going through the same?
I think it's always to document everything that's going through. So if someone is starting to cyberbully comments, even if it's from an unknown place. I mean, I get that a lot anyways on social media from being a plus size woman. But if you have like if you think that it's someone you know, make sure you keep a document, keep a diary of every incident that's happened. Make sure that you have witnesses if there are any. If there is a HR department, you know, record it and let them know. Obviously there are proceeds to go through it, where it could be where you're going through a grievance or you go through recorded. If you are put into any meetings, make sure you have someone. It is your right to be able to have someone in those meetings with you. And to know that it's not your fault that someone has targeted you that way. A lot of people who bully are insecure. They have their own insecurities that they act out on others. You know, for these women, they were insecure that I was living my life competing. You know, they may be rich, they may have money, but this poor little 20-year-old girl was living the life and, you know, having fun and enjoying herself. So, you know, sometimes it's a reflection on others, not a reflection on you.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice, because I always find, I mean, you know, like, I mean, obviously I've been bullied myself and my daughter as well, which you know about, and it does, you have to say it does affect your confidence at the time, but then again it can come to greater things, and I'm a great believer in karma as well, and you know, it does sort of work itself out. I mean, advice for bullying in the workplace, the advice that is on the gov.uk site states that if employers do get bullied in the workplace, employees should see if they can sort the problem out informally first. If they can't, go to your manager or HR. If that's not possible, obviously go to the trade union representative. And anyone that is affected, there are lots of fabulous charities out there. Bullies Out charity has some incredible information on the website and are a wonderful, wonderful charity. And if you do need to talk to someone, there is the National Bullying Helpline that does speak to adults as well as children, and you can type that on Google, or I could comment. I can put the comment on the number helpline in this post. So if anybody does need that help is out there. And also, obviously, if you can, talk to friends and family about it. You know, don't sort of suffer in silence if you can. You know, I think that's a good bit of advice as well.
Yeah, no, it's a problem shared as a problem halved.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on and telling us about your experience. I really do appreciate it. So all the best of luck for your finals next month. I shall see you soon.
Thank you.